We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight, episode 401. Last night was absolutely amazing. Again, I thank all of you that joined us last night for episode 400, and here is to 400 more and plenty more episodes covering LSU, SEC, and really just sports. A lot of new things coming this year and things that we are planning out and some things that we have in the works for you and everybody that follows AYS. We will probably be doing another show covering a little bit more SEC and national stuff, still using and doing the show at 7 o'clock covering LSU. So a lot of things working, a lot of things going well for Are You Serious Sports, and I thank you all for being a part of last night. However, we do got a lot to talk about LSU tonight, National Signing Day, or whatever you want to call tomorrow, even though you have the early signing day that is in December. The traditional National Signing Day is tomorrow, and we have been working the phones. Have been calling people on LSU's staff, been calling some recruits, been talking to their parents as we are getting a little bit more involved in recruiting here. So we'll tell you what we know, what we're feeling. I'll give you the layout of what I'm thinking at this current moment. I will also say this. Things can change very quickly. The night before National Signing Day is like the day before Christmas for head coaches and their staffs. So a lot of things that I could say right now and 24 hours from now could change and be complete Rudy poo. But nevertheless, we'll tell you what we know as of right now and what we're hearing around LSU football. We also will be pre-gaming the LSU basketball game that will be coming on tonight at 8 o'clock as they face the Ole Miss Rebels. Speaking of the Ole Miss Rebels and how Rudy Poo and candy ass Lane Kiffin is, I might have decided to tee off on Lane Kiffin yet again. I've never seen a head coach moan and complain, oh my God, Ole Miss doesn't have enough money for NIL deals. Oh. When I read a tweet from Lane Kiffin, that's what it sounds like to me. Grow up. Because the last time I checked, you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback that in his career and right now is making well over and has made well over $100 million. Why don't you call the Mannings? Oh, wait, that's right, because they don't give a damn about you. All right. But LSU does take on Ole Miss. I really do like Kermit Davis, the Ole Miss head coach. So we'll be talking about the game. And as we do every Tuesdays and Thursdays, guys, do us a favor by hitting the like. As we do every Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do the hashtag Ask Blake. So if you have a question, fire it inside the Rudy Crew chat. We will try to get to as many of those as we can. If you have some questions about recruiting, LSU, SEC, whatever, we will try to get into all of them as we do go around the SEC tonight. And what I foresee, I'll stick a lot into LSU on this one because it does come down to A&M, Florida, and LSU for majority of these recruits of what we're watching and waiting for. So we'll be going around the SEC technically while we talk about these recruits, and then we'll get. Look, Tom Brady retired today, so it's a new era in the NFL in reference to guys in my generation and the quarterbacks that I grew up watching. Outside of Kurt Warner and Brett Favre, the main quarterbacks of the last, let's say, 15 to 20 years, and Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Eli Manning, etc., all have officially retired. So it's a new age in NFL, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. So we'll get into all that. Huge show in store for you, though, however. Let's get to a couple of comments before we get started. Semper says, what time we starting? I was a little bit late. I was on the phone. I thought you guys heard me on the phone before it started. Got a phone call right before we started. and had to go. Old Vet says, I think it's supposed to start at 8 y'all's time. Yeah, we start at 7, and then tonight or the game tonight will be at 8. Skipper says, let's go. Edward O. What's up, Edward? Got to talk to Edward today as I dropped in on my good friend Jeremy Hill's show. And we need to get Jeremy on the show. We need to get Jay Hilly on the show. But he says, drop the beat, Blake, that we did. Man, every time. It doesn't matter. 401 episodes in, that beat always gives me chills. Dandy also says, congrats again and enjoyed episode 400. Thank you very, very much, guys. All right, so let's do this. Jacob Cole says, going to be a good day tomorrow. Speaking it now, it's the hashtag BK takeover. We'll see. We'll touch on that right after the break. So let's do this. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. There's close and a little bit over than 300 of you on Facebook right now. If you're not following us there, follow us on this page, Are You Serious Sports Network. Everybody, there should be over 300 likes on Facebook. Hit the like button. It just takes one little button. Hit the like button, hit the share to some Facebook groups. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Guys, we met our goal last night right there at the wire. 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much for getting us to our goal for YouTube. I think we might be doing another giveaway too if we get to 10,000 followers on Twitter. So if you're not watching us or not following us on Twitter, AYS Sports, go and do it because you're going to reap the benefits of that as well. I want to thank my good friend Carol Foss at State Farm for powering the $300 gift card giveaway. So subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you're listening to us on the audio podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe and rate us there as well. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get to a break. We're coming back with some LSU recruiting, none better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and betonline.ag. Guys, with over 64 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to servicing your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. Or go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. You break down in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and pick you up. That is GM Varno & Sons, GM Varno & Sons at 2500 Fuller Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, now that mobile betting is live and active and everybody in the state of Louisiana is making so much money, the best place to do that, betonline.ag. Guys, whip up the mobile device at the end of the show. If you haven't already signed up, sign up today by using Believe 50 AYS podcast tab. That way you'll get 50% off your first welcome bonus as we have the Super Bowl coming up in just a couple of weeks. Joe Burrow is in that thing, and you already know I will never bet against Joey B. But the place I'm going to do that is BetOnline. Again, it's betonline.ag. BetOnline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. This old vet on YouTube, since it's $5 via Super Chat. Thank you so much. He says, sending that just for the Kiffin impersonation. Well, if you're just joining us and you're missing it, Lane Kiffin to me is quite honestly one of the biggest crybaby titty babies of all time. And I thought, I did not go out and I did not go out and really say a lot when he was doing a lot of the things. I didn't say a lot when he was trolling LSU and Louisiana people. There's so many things that he's done that I quite honestly have just put on the back burner. What I'm not going to put on the back burner is this. It's getting very aggravating to watch him. And look, I think Lane Kiffin is one of, if not the best play caller in college football on either side of the ball. Talented guy, cerebral guy, can get talented guys to come to play for your program. I don't like the emotional BS that comes with him. It's exhausting. So what? I'll leave that little part alone. But so what? You're not at LSU and they didn't interview you. So what? Brian Kelly's dancing. So what? And then you come out today arguing and bitching and moaning and complaining about all the shit that's going on with NIL and saying that Ole Miss doesn't have the money to compete. It's not LSU or anybody else's problem. If you want to take that to your boosters. Take that shit to Eli Manning. You mean to tell me that nobody at Ole Miss has money? Hoity-toity, instead of hidey-tidy, people act like they have money. All of a sudden, are you saying that they don't? So I'll digress from Lane Kiffin. Speaking of him in recruiting, and he's acting like he's big and bad because he thinks that he has the number one class in the transfer portal, even though he does not, and he won't. He calls himself the portal king. After we had come out and said things like portal combat. Quite honestly, Lane, you got to grow up, buddy. You got to grow up. At some point, you got to grow up. Blaine Smith says 10,000, no sweat. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, if we get, we're probably going to do another giveaway. We're going to do another giveaway. This time, I think it's going to be to Twitter if we get to 10,000 followers. We're around 7,400 or something like that. So we can get there. We can 1,000% get there. William Hanno says BK still got the number one transfer portal class. No, and it really depends on what service you look at. I to be honest with you guys, I don't bank or serve or even look at the rankings personally. I will take what my eyes personally tell me to judge what LSU has done. Okay? And so with that being said alone, with that being centered alone, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's what I do because I can come out here and bitch and moan and complain all I want, but nevertheless, we'll see. Look, let's get into some of this recruiting now. Get to majority of these comments. And Trey asked this question on Facebook. He says, Blake, of the remaining 6 announced tomorrow, who is the biggest get? Well, I think it depends on what you value more, because you do have a guy who's a tight end in Danny Lewis from Westgate at a position where you don't have a lot of depth. And not only do you not have a lot of depth, you don't have a lot of quality depth. It's one thing to say you don't have depth on the offensive line when you actually technically do have the numbers, and people who argue that, in my personal opinion, not only do they not know what they're talking about, but clearly they just don't see what's going on. So if it's need that you put above all things else, then I would say Danny Lewis, because you need the quality depth there. If you're going based off of talent, now a lot of good GMs in the NFL, what they have done and what they do is, regardless of need, they will go for the most talented player and specific instances. I think the biggest that us LSU fans would know is that the Bengals offensive line is absolutely garbage, ash water, the bourbon dumpster water juice, how bad that offensive line has been. And you should know that if you've been following me for a long time, and some people say I stick up for the offensive line more than anybody, but their offensive line has been horrible, even when teams are only rushing 3 and they get home to Joe Burrow and a lot of times either get a hit on him or get a sack. But they drafted Jamar Chase instead. Jamar Chase at that time, without a question, was the best available player on the board. With that being said, I would think, and this could be and this is just my personal opinion of the guys that LSU is targeting, that is Jacoby Matthews. Now, you could, and we could have the debate around Harold Perkins, the 5-star linebacker from Texas, and I'm okay with either one. I will admit that the reason I'd lean Jacoby Matthews more is because I've physically seen him a lot more. I've not been able to see Harold Perkins physically a lot more. I don't like that Harold Perkins is pushing 205 pounds. He's the same height as Jacoby Matthews. They're probably around the same speed. Can Harold Perkins do a lot of different things? Is he an explosive athlete? Does he do things at his height at 6'2" that some athletes should not be able to do? Yes. But I will stick with my personal opinion on Jacoby Matthews here. That's a personal preference. We can debate that and argue that. I'm okay with either one. So with that too, we can dive into what I think is going to happen. Now, again, if you've missed the show, or if you've missed what I've already said, let it be known again that things, especially the day before National Signing Day, could change so quickly. Guys, I could go on a hour-long show and talk about one specific recruit and give you all the things that I'm hearing. I could tell you all the phone calls I'm making. I could show you what we're doing, the recruits that we're talking to. And most of you know that when it comes to talking to specific people, I am more guarded than some. Some people write articles saying they spoke with this individual or that individual. I don't normally do that. That's just a personal preference. Maybe one day if we start doing some articles and writing, maybe we'll do a little bit more of that. But I do have a little bit of concern of some things I'm hearing. Now, it's the day before National Signing Day. Sure, you're supposed to have some concerns. So let's run down a little bit of this list. Tre'Vonte Citizen, the running back from Lake Charles, like I talked about last night, like we've kind of always been talking about around Tre'Vonte Citizen, especially with the chaos around Auburn, I do feel as if it comes to a situation between LSU and Florida. Now, talking to people at Florida today, people that have come on this show, people that are around the program, people that are friends that I've had for a long time that are part of that staff, some that left with Billy Napier on the control staff over to Billy Napier and went to Gainesville with him. I think there's a very strong and growing confidence around Tre'Vonte Citizen to Florida. Now, I don't know specifically how to take them right now on that. I think that what they're saying is a little bit all over the place. But the main thing is consistent is that they feel that they will land Tre'Vonte Citizen. On the LSU side, I think that they have gained some confidence over the last 48 hours or so, maybe even 72 hours, with Austin Davis, the offensive coordinator at Auburn, stepping down and resigning his role with Brian Harsin in Auburn. Now Cadillac Williams, the running backs coach, might be getting some looks into the NFL. So does that put Auburn in a situation where they're third? We'll see. But if you had to ask me, I don't know the confidence level I have for Tre'Vonte Citizen. If you talk to people around Florida, they feel the strongest for Tre'Vonte Citizen. I guess we could wait for Harold Perkins last, but you know what? I'll save Harold Perkins for last. Jalen Davis Robinson, the corner from Texas, I feel pretty confident in. A kid that's a little bit bigger than I anticipated when watching him. I think that he's got some really good speed, really fast. He kind of got out of his breaks really good too, from what I saw. I feel strongly about him. Danny Lewis, the tight end out of Westgate. Some of my close friends will know what I think about this whole situation with Alabama. But I do feel confident about Danny Lewis. I think that personally, when it comes to a need aspect, that there's not a recruit on this 6-player list that's more needed than Danny Lewis. Because if you really think about it, you do have a fair amount of number of safeties on the roster. You do have a fair number of linebackers on the roster. You got the best, probably, and arguably the best position group on your squad and on your football team as wide receiver. You went out and got some productive corners, and you have a stable of running backs. What you don't have is enough tight ends. It is the number one. It is the biggest position at LSU that needs to be addressed and changed. So, but I do feel confident in Danny Lewis. Caleb Douglas, I really believe, will go to Florida. That's just a hunch that I'm getting because there's just not a lot of confidence there. And then we get to the big two, and Jacoby Matthews and Harold Perkins. In reference to Jacoby Matthews, I will say this. I know that there has been some around LSU that have more confidence than I do. I know that there are some that believe in certain things being called a lock. What I will say is that in all of this and the recruiting battles with Tre'Vonte Citizen, it's coming down to LSU, Auburn, and Florida. Davis Robinson, a little bit of the same. Danny Lewis, Alabama, and LSU. Caleb Douglas, LSU, and Florida. Jacoby Matthews, I'll hold there. Harold Perkins, it seems as if, and it could go somewhere different, seems to be between LSU and Florida. The interesting question that I asked Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com last night was this, if you missed it. Where does Texas A&M fall into all of this? Now, a lot of people will make and take shade at Jimbo Fisher and A&M and, Blake, they're not going to do anything. They're A&M and all this kind of stuff. Well, the last time I checked, guys, they have the number 2 recruiting class in the country. Jimbo Fisher can and has shown even before this year that they can really do good things in recruiting. I do wonder, and again, this is something that we've talked about for 3 weeks, and I've taken a lot of heat for this, especially on social media. Over the 3 weeks, I've had some concerns about what team would come in late and make a big push for Jacoby Matthews. I'm going to stick with what I believe. I believe tomorrow he will sign to be a Tiger, but a lot of things can change there. NIL money and NIL has changed my perception of things, and it has changed what maybe one time a recruit would have done in the past. I'm not saying that that's Jacoby Matthews. But when you have a really talented guy that, quite honestly, can play wherever he wants, I think that there comes a point where a lot of teams are going to vibe for him. They're going to go after this guy. They're going to want him to play, and they're going to want him to start. They want him to be an all-SEC, all-American type of guy. I have confidence in Jacoby Matthews, and I have confidence that LSU will get things done and do the right thing. So with that, I'll tend to lean Jacoby Matthews to LSU. Last and certainly not least, before we get to before we get to Harold Perkins, not a lot of the same people share my opinion and my concern for Jacoby Matthews. Again, guys, that's not to say that tonight and tomorrow morning that things won't change there. I 1,000% believe that things will change there. I know that some media members in our local LSU market who have not said anything during this recruiting process and have kept their mouths shut will, when things go a certain way, they will diminish and tarnish and tell you everything. Oh, well, we knew this. Well, if you knew something, you need to go out there and talk about it or post it, or especially to your subscribers and people that follow you. I will just hold my excitement for the last 2 guys currently. I think that Brian Kelly has done a fantastic job at closing with all 6 of these guys. So I'll leave it there. Last and certainly not least, Harold Perkins. I really don't know. I really don't know. If I had to give an opinion, which you're here to listen to, it would seem as if that he may be leaning LSU. Looks like he is. A lot of people have faith that he's coming to LSU. I want to see how Brian Kelly handles this. I want to see what happens when Frank Wilson's on staff. The kid chooses Florida, guys. It's as much as it's going to suck, or even if he circles back to Texas A&M tonight or tomorrow, it won't be because LSU didn't put their best foot forward. LSU did put their best foot forward in all of this. And what I will tell you is talking with people in that recruiting building, in that recruiting office and staff, they are working their asses off. I think that Harold Perkins, for me, though, is just icing on the cake. Now, to anyone who says I don't have the right to have an opinion on the Harold Perkins thing like I've seen some do, I just want to give you a little bit of a news flash. The First Amendment. So I will give my opinion where it's garnered. Okay. So with that being said, I think LSU can close out. Realistically, I would say 3 of the 6. If it's 3 of the 6, then I still feel very good. I think Brian Kelly did a fantastic job. Guys, newsflash. Take the purple and gold glasses off for just a second. If you get 3 out of the 6, that's a really damn good job. Really, really damn good job. If they land all 6, God bless us. Okay, we'll get to these comments. Scott Bryant says, of course they would, by hopefully he picks LSU to stay close to home. Scott, this is not to you, and I'm not trying to call you out on this, Scott. I understand what you're saying, but I understand what you're trying to imply. What I think that you're saying, and I think that you're talking about me saying that Texas A&M maybe and like we've been talking about over the 3 weeks, making a big push for Jacoby Matthews. I don't know if you're completely reading between the lines. You feel me? Capiche? Capiche? Guys, read between the lines. Who dat says he can do it all. I don't know what that means. Edward O says our running backs is in good shape no matter what happens tomorrow. I like our young backs, and plus Kane and Emery are 2 former 5-stars. Look, that running back room is really crowded. It's extremely crowded. With that alone, and with the running backs that you have in this state next year, and I don't mean this in a wrong way, I think that you want Tre'Vonte Citizen. I think he's a really good back, but it is a very crowded room in there. A very crowded room. I think we'll be okay. Harold Woods, what's up, Harold? Says Jalen Davis Robinson only played 1 year of defense, I heard. Play damn good of it if he did. Guy's a natural athlete, man. Connor Pittman on YouTube says, forgot how stacked our running back room is. I could see Citizen going to Florida. Well, and the question is if Citizen does go to Florida, what happens with Trevor Etienne? Does he still commit? Does he still sign? I mean, I know he probably wants to be close to his brother, and his parents probably want them to be pretty close so they could watch both of them play. But do you get both of them? And guys, honestly, if they do get Trevor Etienne, which is not a guy that LSU really went after hard, and they get Caleb Douglas, you get 3 guys that you were looking to get, or 2 guys at minimum. So we'll see. Yep, firing your questions like Rick did just right here. It says, #Ask Blake, what does LSU have to do to keep Saban from stealing great wide receivers from Louisiana? Yeah, you got to give them time. And I think it's an impossible task. Not maybe impossible, but it can be an unrealistic task at times to hold that on Brian Kelly, especially from the wide receiver room. Um, just give Brian Kelly time. I don't foresee a situation where Alabama is going to be able, under Brian Kelly, unless all things come unglued and unhinged and undone, which they won't. But if there is a situation where it does, maybe Alabama can come back into the state and get 3 recruits from the same position. But I will put all of my chips in the center for Frank Wilson and Cortez Hankton and Mike Denbrock for what it's worth to be able to lock some of those things down. Mark says on YouTube, don't bring up that 3 into 6 show name up in here, y'all. Yeah. Corey says, hashtag ask Blake. Sam Spiegelman, or however you spell it, has his prediction to LSU on 3 and multiple other people to LSU. Good for him. Edward O says, Kane and Emory are seniors. Connor's big year will be 2023. And yeah, look, running back is a position that freshmen can come in and play. But you do need some experience there too. LSU fan 05 on YouTube says, I personally believe that we will land Harold Perkins. Maybe so. Guys, there's a situation where you can land 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6. There's a situation when you can land 3 of the 6. There's a situation where you can land 2 of the 6. Guys, there's a situation where you can land 1 of the 6. Now, again, like I'm saying, I do feel confident for a lot of these guys, but what I'm cautioning myself on right now currently is we have not seen Brian Kelly and his staff currently end a national signing day when they've had some time to do some things. We'll see. So I'm gonna stay a smidge bit cautious. Just a smidgen. Sean says Lewis and Matthews come. The rest are crapshoot. Citizen is crickets. Okay. Aaron Adams says, hashtag ask Blake, any news on Matt House transition? I would assume he will be here no later than tomorrow. I asked around a little, but got sidetracked. Ant Marshall on YouTube. What's up, Ant? He says, hashtag ask Blake, any Michigan decommits? Well, that's an interesting thought. I wonder if you work the phone tonight. Let me just pull it up. 2022. Let's see what they have. And I'm just going based off of 247, just first website that pulled up. Michigan has 22 signees already. They have Tre'Vonte Henry out of California, an edge pass rusher, 3-star that has not signed, and he's a hard commit. So it looks like a lot of those guys have already signed. Now, does the NCAA let them out of their letter of intent? I would assume that they would let them out of the letter of intent if why wouldn't they? You can't necessarily. That really sucks for them that Jim Harbaugh is more than likely in looking to be going to the Minnesota Vikings, but they're after a guy by Josh Connolly Jr., it looks like. And I don't follow Michigan recruiting, so bear with me here. Andrew Paul, the running back from Texas, who has kind of been on LSU's radar a little bit, but I just don't see that happening. What's interesting is you got a guy in Amarian Walker from Ponchatoula, Jacoby Matthews' teammate, who, let me say this, I was really high on. Now, my buddy Mike Scarborough and me have seen him play. Maybe he's not high on him as maybe I am. But if he gets out of his letter of intent, is there a situation where he makes his way to LSU? He was a one-time Notre Dame commit. When Brian Kelly left, he went to Michigan. I think that kid is an absolute freak of nature. 6'4", probably 180. I really like Amarian Walker a lot. I like him a lot. So we'll see there. We'll see. We do have some basketball tonight. What do you guys think about LSU versus Ole Miss? I mean, look, if LSU struggles with Ole Miss tonight, they have a very massive problem. In no way should LSU lose to Ole Miss tonight, even with Xavier Pinson out. Let me say this. This is just a thought. LSU needs to blow Ole Miss out tonight. For confidence alone, they need to blow them out. I'm still waiting for the big Efton Reed game. I'm waiting for him to blow out and have a big game. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Brandon Thomas says 4 of the 6. Very possible. Very possible. Edward O says, think Lewis is a lock too. I don't like saying locks, man. I really, 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 really don't like saying anything's a lock in recruiting. Guys, it's 7:40 right now. As it's 7:40 right now, it's too early in the night. Way too early in the night. I've seen being from let me just say this, and I'll say this as cautiously as I can. Being in a sports family with a lot of coaches and coordinators, I don't trust anybody in anything when it comes to recruiting. No one. I have seen kids and heard of kids telling a specific coach that they are committed and they're coming tomorrow. Like literally with these ears have heard it. And then within a matter of an hour, there are situations that come up that put the team that was the player was going to an hour before on the defense. So I don't I don't trust anybody. Blaine Smith said, ask about Pinson returning. Guys, if it's a true MCL strain, I mean, he should be back within the next within a week at max. But when something's strained like that, you just have to monitor, and everybody's different. Everybody's different. Joseph asked, why is Coach O at the Senior Bowl? Well, he's got some players at the Senior Bowl. Some of the guys that he recruited and signed and made, not made, but guys that he helped develop are there. Guys, Damone Clark, Neil Farrell. I mean, so, yeah. Hawkins Nick on Facebook says, hashtag ask Blake, any truth to South Carolina linebacker from Rebel, Colby Fields, and the offensive line from Vandy looking at LSU after signing day? There is some rumbles about the kid from Vandy who was recruited by Cortez Hankton, and somebody in here refreshed me of his name. But yeah, his main recruiter was Cortez Hankton. Tyler Steen, there you go. Thank you, Keen, on YouTube. I'm not going to show you from whom. This is why you don't come out here during a show like mine and start talking about commits and things. Like literally what I just told you, the story about a lot of my family members being and coaching in college, that things change within a shadow of a doubt very quickly. Guys, I think LSU is going to be fine. I think LSU will be fine. If they finish with 4 out of 6, LSU will be more than fine. Here's another thing, too. Now, let me go back to these recruiting rankings. If Brian Kelly, who started at 40th at the early signing day, gets into the top 10, God help us. Not only God help us, but God bless all of the national guys. Tomorrow night, I will lose my absolute shit. You think we've done Big Rufino's rants before? God bless it. No holds bars tomorrow. And let me tell you this. I'm already preparing for it. So that should tell you my confidence. That should tell you my confidence. Okay. Just answering the text message. We're good. But yeah, I like that Tyler Steen kid from I like the Steen kid from Vandy. All right, let me scroll up a little bit more to some of these comments. Jacob Cole says we could get 3 out of the 4 out of the 6 targets and be in okay spot into the spring. Not fantastic, but okay. Well, look, I more than fantastic. They're going to be more than fantastic, I think. If they get 2 of 6, I'm okay. If they get 3 of 6, I'm ecstatic. If they get 4 of 6, I'm jumping up and down. Jay Hilly, Jeremy Hill. By the way, Jay Hill, if you missed last night, we had on Carter the Power Bryant on episode 400, and he asked me, Blake, who's your favorite LSU player? And I jumped and said, Jeremy Hill. And then he proceeded to roast to me about my college days, about how Fletcher Cox ate my ever-living lunch. Nevertheless, thought you should like that. Loved your show today, my man. He says, don't trip, though. Jay Hill says, don't trip too much on what the commits. Hold on. Let me reread that. Don't trip too much on most of the commits tomorrow. Most of them will be in the portal at this point next year. I agree with that. I agree with that. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild that a situation like if Tre'Vonte Citizen leaves and goes somewhere else, that he could be at LSU next year? Wild, bro. Wild. Big pressure is in the building, giving the side eye emoji. Yeah. I like those kind of text messages. I like those kinds of text messages. Blaine says that I'm always teasing the audience. Dude, I can't. I don't know. I can't necessarily make that up. You could somewhat see that we have the notifications on the phone, right? Come on, bro. Hey, we could go behind a paywall. Derek Cropper says, how do you feel about Shelton Sampson next year? I don't really know yet, but I feel confident right now. So we'll see. That's a long process. LSU's, and I agree with Scarborough on this. LSU's got to do everything they can to lock up tomorrow. Like everything that they can to lock up tomorrow, and then they go into 2023. Lee says, Blake, get Jeremy to call the show tonight. Jeremy who? Bryce Jury says, I'm dehydrated. Give me some of that water, Blake. Yeah, I don't drink on the shows anymore. I don't drink on the shows anymore. Too many bad things happen when we sip on it. Connor Pittman says, hashtag ask Blake, how do you feel about 247 Sports demoting Walker and Will Campbell to four-star recruits? Well, look, I've said this before. This is not an indication that anybody from the local guys that work there, I think that those guys work their asses off. I think those guys work hard. I don't mean this to them. But I've said this for a long time, and it's come out, and they've kind of somewhat confirmed it from a national level to some extent. I don't like when you don't go and watch a recruit face-to-face. I don't like when you don't go on the sidelines and watch a recruit play. With that being said, that's what some of this happened, and a lot of film was given out. There's a reason, guys, if you Jeremy, like Jeremy Hill. Thank you, Lee. Jay Hilly, we'll get Jay Hilly on the show. Sorry. I don't know why I was Jay Hill, it slipped my mind. That's that ADHD for you. But I know I don't like it. I'll hit Jay Hill up tonight. We'll try to bring him on tomorrow or Thursday. How about that? So that's on me. That's an ADHD moment for you. It hit me all at once. Stephen says BK Sack going to be dragging the ground at 6:15 p.m. tomorrow night. If it is, it should tell you everything that you need to know about Notre Dame and everything you need to know about LSU and Brian Kelly. And as we go around the SEC, and we'll kind of start wrapping it up because we'll go about another 10, 15 minutes because we do have the LSU basketball game on tonight. As we go around the SEC, guys, I mean, you're going to either play against – either these guys are going to play for you or for the team that you root for, or you're going to be playing against them. You're going to either be playing with or against Jacoby Matthews, Harold Perkins, Caleb Douglas, Danny Lewis, Jalen Davis-Robinson, or Tre'Vonte Citizen and Trevor Etienne. Bottom line. If LSU were to go with the clean sweep, they'd have a position open. I think that a couple of spots will be left open. I am going to stick to my guns, and I'm not going to deflect on this until the day that I'm proven wrong. If there's a quarterback that goes into the transfer portal, I still believe that they're going to go after him. I disagree from the comments last night about the center position. I personally believe that LSU does have, or who they believe will be their center already on their roster. It's not who people think that it will be. I'll work on that to see if we can get that confirmed, and not necessarily confirmed, but run. How about that? Okay. That's what I thought. But I do feel good. William Hodges says, Blake, what is going on with Auburn? That place is on fire. Speaking about going around the SEC, and people got on to me today about, well, Blake, you're not talking Caleb Williams. By the way, we hadn't even talked about Caleb Williams going to USC, but the reason we're not talking, because we already knew that Caleb Williams was going to USC. It was never a question about that. But everything that goes on in the SEC has a not only a ripple effect, but it affects LSU in so many ways. If you missed it, and look, I think that there's a lot of things going on at Auburn. I think that there's too many people that want their hands on and have control of the program. I think that they're not letting Brian Harsin control what's going on at Auburn. And look, this is me speaking from the outside looking in. I haven't really run a lot of this down. Now, Carter told you that Carter Bryant said that we broke the story yesterday, and we didn't really go public with it because I just don't like talking about breaking news or anything like that when it doesn't revolve LSU. But man, Brian Harsin seems like a complete asshole sometimes. I've never met Brian Harsin a day in my life. But ever since Brian Harsin did get there, and I will defend Brian Harsin on this, it would seem as if that everything was against Brian Harsin. Like the media got on him he was giving out apparel to the media members, and they moaned and complained. Oh, it's immoral for you to give us apparel. We're a part of the media. Shut up. Take the apparel. Because what's going on with media in so many aspects, especially in sports, bro, like grow up some. Like grow up some. Guys, they don't have an offensive coordinator for National Signing Day. They just don't. Stacy on YouTube says, #Ask Blake, do you think if Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and other LSU alumni win a Super Bowl will push recruits to join LSU? I think it always has an effect to that, yeah. I think it always has an effect like that, yeah. But yes, I mean, it definitely does. YouTuber user on YouTube says, going into an Auburn's Twitter space, man, they are really worried. Well, man, they should be. Guys, they should be. There's absolutely no reason why I should be knowing things about them before it's breaking publicly. I put out to a couple of feelers today and talked to somebody that covers Auburn, even about Cadillac Williams. Guys, Auburn, there's a thought that people believe that Cadillac Williams is leaving Auburn. I don't know how true that is. I can't confirm. I can't confirm that. I'm just being honest. So we'll see. Blaine Smith says the liquor gets us in trouble sometimes. LOL, more than some. Yeah, man, that liquor be getting up on me quick, but boy, I can't be doing that no more. No more during the show. Got to talk about my good friend Carol Foss, guys. He sponsored the YouTube giveaway, the $300 gift card giveaway. I got to thank him a lot, guys. Like a good neighbor, State Farm and Carol Foss is there. They have surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana for auto, home, and life insurances. Give them a call today at 985-395-4300. 985-395-4300. Let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. My good friend Tracy at the New Orleans Bourbon Festival. Guys, I will be there March the 26th. Great food, great drinks, great people. No better place than the New Orleans Bourbon Fest. Go to their website, neworleansbourbonfest.com, to purchase your ticket today. Again, I will be there on the 26th. So come out. Let's hang out. We can make it an AYS event. Again, it's the neworleansbourbonfest.com. And my good friend Richie Roche over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, 225-937-7220, 225-937-7220. Let them know your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. Okay. We got about 3 minutes, so fire them in right now. Mark says, good show. See ya. Okay. Mark says, basketball time. Well, doesn't it start at 8? We got 3 minutes, dog. Chillax, bro. Ricky says, #Ask Blake, do you think that Alsbury might flip to LSU from Auburn? I thought he signed. Didn't he sign? Or, guys, am I going crazy? I mean, I'm pretty sure that Alsbury signed. Yeah, Austin Alsbury signed his letter of intent to Auburn. So, no, I don't believe that he will be. Charlie Viator says, Jake Peets to Auburn. Pooh Bear, what's up, Pooh? So I'm sure somebody's going to start up a space tonight. But #Ask Blake, how about that Kevin Steele? LOL. I love it. I love it. I like it a lot. Carlton Reed says, #Ask Blake, any centers in the portals you'd like? No, not at all. That's why they haven't gone and gotten them. That's why they haven't gone and gotten them. So with that being said alone, no. And I think that there's a good center on this team. You just got to train him up a little bit. All right, guys, LSU basketball tonight. If you started Twitter Spaces to watch the game, you will have some questions. I'll jump in. Y'all give me about 5 minutes. I'll jump into those Twitter Spaces. So till then, see you tomorrow. National Signing Day. Got to get Jeremy Hill on the show. We'll do that. Till then, guys, we'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts. All right, let me respond. Oh, shoot.